Hey there, welcome to the Mile High Church podcast. Candlelight services are coming December 23rd and 24th. This year's theme is Many Candles, One Light. Although we will not be able to gather in person, we can all light candles together. Visit milehighchurch.org for details. And now, Footprints of Light Part 2, Spreading the Light, with Michelle Medrano.
So I am grateful to be back again this week for a second part in my two-part series called Footprints of Light. I've really loved this series. It's helped me to really deepen into that powerful sense of light in this universe and to have an opportunity to speak about it, especially this time of year. And I've noticed since we have not been able to be together in person as much this last year, one of the challenges in preparing a message to speak is that I find it difficult to put too much humor into the message. And I was asking myself, well, why is that? Is it because I somehow need the laughter of the people who have joined the service to make the humor worthwhile? And I thought, well, maybe that is true. I'm not sure. We got some staff here today, but otherwise there's no one else but us here. So I decided to go ahead and bring some humor into my message today and to start out, which I like to do sometimes, with some humor in the message. And I also realized as I was contemplating this that a huge part of bringing light to the world, I think, is humor, is laughter, is the ability to laugh at ourselves, laugh at the conditions we're in, laugh at the things going on in our life. Oftentimes in my world, just having a little giggle about something takes me to a new level of creativity. So I offer these funnies about the pandemic. I found an email from one of our members, Helen Funk. She sent me this list of funny things to pay attention to during a pandemic or stay-at-home time. And there were 16 of them, and I don't have all 16 of them, but I picked my favorites. Thank you, Helen, for sending them to me. So the first one I really liked, I need to practice social distancing from my refrigerator. We need to remember that one. Still haven't decided where to go to for Christmas, the living room or the bedroom. I know a lot of us have that challenge. This is good advice, I think. Every few days, try your jeans on just to make sure they fit, because pajamas will have you believing all is well in the kingdom. That's a good one for sure. I don't think anyone expected that when we changed the clocks, we'd go from standard time to the twilight zone. Feels like that for me for sure. This is my favorite. This morning, I saw a neighbor talking to her cat. It was obvious she thought her cat understood her. I came into the house and told my dog we laughed a lot. Happens to me all the time. I'm so excited. It's time to take out the garbage. What to wear? What to wear? Oh, gosh. Oh, here's a good one. Classified ad. Single man with toilet paper seeks single woman with hand sanitizer for good, clean fun. And the last one, day 6 of homeschooling. My child just said, I hope I don't have the same teacher next year. I'm deeply offended. So that's some little humor for lightness to start us out today. So last week in our series, we started by talking about accessing the light. And we talked about how we have to anchor the light within ourselves. We have to find doorways into the inner beingness of our own soul, our own essence, because we are the light. And I'm going to continue to emphasize in today's message that we are the light. It's the natural tendency, the natural proclivity for us and as us. So we're not seeking to get something we don't have in this case, and indeed in most cases. We are seeking to gain access, remembrance, a deeper sense of the truth of the light that we already are. And so we talked last week about just anchoring that light, remembering to do that without disconnecting from the darkness. I love the poem that Dr. Patty read from Og Mandino, and boy, we got to meet Og Mandino, both she and I, when he was here many years ago. What a delightful man. And he's absolutely right. The darkness can't be discounted because it allows us to see the stars. The darkness has its place, but the key is to understand that the darkness cannot win out to the light that lives within us, individually or collectively. And yet we don't deny the darkness, because otherwise it just weighs heavy in our soul, in our consciousness, in our beingness. And so we ended last week with a practice where we could transmute darkness. We could look right at it and transmute it so that we can see through it and beyond it. And in reviewing this, I want to point out a quote from Carl Jung that I found really powerful. He says, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. The latter procedure, however, is disagreeable and therefore not popular." And so, especially in our teaching, we have to pay attention to not doing this. So we talked about the light as being the presence, that we're in the midst of the light, we're more present, and we're presence to the presence that is us. And so that was last week. This week, we're focusing on, and the talk title is Spreading the Light. Spreading the light. One of the criticisms that people sometimes have of our faith tradition is that they believe that we spend way too much time sitting and meditating and contemplating our navel, our very spiritual navel, of course, but contemplating too much and inner processing too much, such that we're not as active as some believe we should be. And it's sometimes people outside of our faith and even people inside our faith who demand more action, who demand more moving out into the world. And I understand that. I can get that. And I absolutely can see that as I work in my own inner work, in my meditation practices, and in the way that I perceive myself, as I work to heal my own negativity, to heal my own pain and suffering, that I gain greater access to the light. And therefore, I become more luminous in my daily living. And wherever I go, that luminosity goes with me and can be a part then of the relationships and the conditions and the situations in which I find myself. That's a natural part of it. And yet I can completely acknowledge that to the degree that not only do I work in my spiritual practice to anchor that light, but then to consciously go out and seek to be a spreader of that light, to spread that light in every situation and condition that I can, consciously, to that degree, then I really truly embody the light, because I embrace it and I give it, and I embrace it and I live it, and I embrace it and I share it. And that is, I think, the magic dosing, if you will, of that which can transform an individual's life, as well as then transform and make a difference in our collective lives. And so it's powerful for us to do this. In Ephesians, in chapter 5, in verse 13, I love that it says, "Light has the power to change what it shines upon into light." If, like me, any of us are concerned about the degree of darkness that might exist in our world, the degree of darkness that shows up like ignorance and pain and suffering, and the lack of goodwill towards others and peace on earth, if that's of concern, we each have to take our place in that concern and be willing to understand that to the degree that I access the light and I consciously choose to spread the light, then that which I encounter, every relationship, every condition, every activity, every movement in my life, then I become the light and shine the light, and that which I look upon and partake of and participate in then has the capacity to become more light itself. Light meaning awakened, light meaning lighthearted, light meaning transformative, light meaning luminous for myself and others. And I think that's the secret that all of us are yearning to have and be. And we want other people to go first. Oh yeah, there'll be more light in the world if they'll just go first, or if that situation could just resolve. But our teaching says no. That's great if and when that happens, but each one of us gets to be a vital part of the ongoing creation of unleashing more of the light that we are into this world. It takes conscious awareness. It takes a willingness to rise up. Sometimes even the challenges and the destruction of conditions and situations in our world can create a sense of a lack of light in our own beingness. I know that I have fallen prey at times when things don't go my way, or something that I love is destroyed or it disappears, or a dream I had didn't work out the way I hoped it would, or a relationship doesn't work out the way that I hoped it had. I sometimes can fall into that place of questioning my faith and questioning the light itself. And I think we all do that for a time. And that can be understandable. And then we might need help to pull ourselves out of that awareness and that lack of light-heartedness and lightness in our lives. And yet, I think some people habitually live in that place. Habitually live and look out into the world and see only darkness and destruction and feel as though there's no hope and there's no enlightenment and it's only getting worse, that sort of thing. And we all need each other to remind each other to be the light, to see the light, and to give the light. To be the light, to see the light, and to give the light, even in our most darkened places. Every year this time of the year, I enjoy watching Christmas movies, and my all-time favorite Christmas movie is It's a Wonderful Life. And I was watching it the other day as I was contemplating this message. And I think a lot of us have the George Bailey syndrome going on. We think when things aren't going well, or if we're not able to get out there and interact with people, or we're not doing enough or being enough, that our life just doesn't matter, and therefore there's not a lot of light that we can count on. But I think that the story of It's a Wonderful Life, at the very end, always reminds me that every life matters. Every being matters. That my presence, your presence, our presence here makes a difference, not only to the people we know and the conditions we know we're part of, but we make a difference to every other being on this planet. We are related to every other being on this planet. And everything we do, and every move we make, and every decision, and every activity, and every conversation, it matters. It makes a difference. I love it in the scene where he's just met Clarence, the guardian angel, and George is complaining about his life and how he wish he'd never been alive. And all of a sudden, Clarence gets this great idea. Well, let me show you what it would be like if you'd never been born. You've got your wish. And immediately the weather even changes. And I don't know if that's true. Like if I'd never been born, would it be as cold out today as it is? I don't know that, but it's just such an enormous, deep thought to consider that if one of us hadn't showed up here to be born and to live this life and to be who we are, how it could have impacted all sorts of things. And when we begin to understand this, we begin to see that our very presence, our very life brings greater light to the earth. I may not have solved the cancer issue. I may not have developed the virus, the inoculation that might help people get rid of the virus. I may not have done something big and broad like that. But my just being in my little life, living it out, doing my best to love and grow and heal, it makes a difference. And even if I'm not doing that, for those of us who say, well, I'm not doing very much, even if I'm not doing that, I like to remind people when we do meditation, every breath we take makes a difference. We breathe in the chemistry that the plants have put forth, and we breathe out chemistry that supports the plants. Our every breath matters. Every time you or I breathe, we bring light onto this planet. We make a difference. And when we begin to understand this and to see this without the use of a guardian angel who can pretend that we never existed, we can take on that thought and begin to realize, I matter. And the light begins to break through, to burst through sometimes our resistance and our ideas that if my life was just different, I could have made a difference. If conditions were just different, I could have made a difference. In my life so far, I have noticed that I've come across people who have lived through conditions that I certainly would not want to live through. Conditions that I suspect none of us would want to live through. And still, they can sometimes be some of the most loving, light, sweet, generous beings on our planet. And it always reminds me when I see beings like this who have struggled and suffered the most, and yet who have continued to stay in touch with the light of their own heart and their own soul, and to give that and be that conditions don't matter. Conversely, I've seen people who seem to have everything they could ever want. Maybe have everything in the material world that any one of us would ever want, that we think would make our life better. Have had all the opportunities in the world, are living the life. And sometimes they're the most unhappy, dark, unfriendly, stingy people on the planet. It's never, ever the conditions that we were raised in. It's never the things we've suffered through. It's never the conditions we're going through right now that portend if the light will visit us, if the presence can have its way with us. It's none of that. It's us. It's each one of us choosing day by day, moment by moment, to court the miraculous presence of the light. That's how we begin to then spread the light, to spread it by our living, by our being, to look upon other beings from that place and to live in that place. This week, the Festival of Lights began, Hanukkah. For those of you who celebrate and honor Hanukkah, happy Hanukkah. And I just love the story of Hanukkah and the miracle of Hanukkah. And I've read a lot about it in my years as a minister, and I read a lot about it this week in preparation for this message. And it's such a beautiful story that reminds me of exactly what we're talking about right now. It's a story about a time many, many, many eons ago. There was a king, and I always have trouble with his name, and Antiochus, I think is how it says. And Antiochus III was a very generous king, and he supported the Jewish people in practicing their faith traditions exactly as they would like to. But his son, who became the king, the fourth Antiochus, not so much. He was not willing to let the Jewish peoples live their life freely with religious freedom. And so he fought them and passed rules that they should worship Greek gods, and there was resistance. And in the year 168, before the Common Era, this king got so angry that he sent his troops to raid Jerusalem and to kill the Jews and to desecrate their temple, any temple that they came across. And in the second temple in the city, there was a fight that went out and actually throughout the whole city. And eventually the Jewish people began to win this fight, win this battle. And the king's men were pushed aside. And the Jewish people reclaimed that second temple. And when they did, they decided to relight their menorah candle. And they only had enough oil for 1 day, for the candle to burn for 1 day. And they needed 8 days to make new oil for all of the candles of the menorah to be lit. But a miracle happened. That one vat of oil, that one little thing of oil, lasted the entire 8 days, burning that candle in that temple as they rededicated it. And out of that moment came the practice of Hanukkah that so many of our Jewish brothers and sisters practice on this planet. The lighting of the menorah for 8 days in honor of that miracle. And that story reminds me of our life together. Because no matter how much destruction we've been through, this year or any other year, what we're talking about today and in these past few weeks, and that we'll hear more about in Dr. Patty's solstice service, is the light wins. The light always wins. It may appear to be a miracle, but the light always wins if we let it win. if we allow that light to win. And that's what we're doing today. And through this holiday season, through what for many of us might have been some of the darkest days we've ever experienced, we're inviting ourselves to continue to not only claim that light, but to consider how it is that even in times like this where we can't be together as much, we can spread the light. We can allow the light to be a part of our life powerfully and profoundly. I'm often surprised and sad at how people tend to gravitate towards the dark. How we tend to think that we can actually accomplish anything by continuing to be fear-based and be all about lack and limitation and calling people names and writing negative things about other people and speaking negative things about other people. I'm always saddened and surprised by this because it does not accomplish anything, whereas our ability to lean into the light and certainly point to things that aren't working, point to things we wish could be improved, point to moments where we need to pay attention, absolutely. But in a way that brings more light. There are always ways to bring more light. And those of us who are willing to practice this at the spiritual depth of our being can understand this and know this. One of my favorite authors is Joel Goldsmith. And I've been really contemplating in this past year something Joel said. He said, spiritual consciousness is the consciousness that no longer hates or fears error or evil in any form. And so when we give that up, we make ourselves available to the light. But what I see happening a lot is something in a book I'm writing right now I call the fear flu. That we're running around with this virus of fear and lack and limitation, and we're trying to give it onto other people and project it onto other people. And there are some people who will get that virus from us, and then we'll spread that. And then there are some, though, who will say, I'm not going to go there. I'm not accepting that. I'm going to keep my own spiritual immune system strong by continuing to contemplate the light such that other people can be in fear and I will let them be there and I won't make them wrong for that. I will just see it. I might feel a little sadness that they're going to be there, but I'm going to stand in the light. And I'm going to stay strong in the light. And I'm going to trust myself. And I'm going to trust my soul. And I'm going to trust my journey. And I'm going to trust our journey together. And I'm going to continue to contemplate and nurture the light that is me so that I can continue to give that presence out. So what does that mean specifically? We've been hearing a lot these days about super spreader events and being a super spreader. So I'm inviting us to be a super spreader of light. Now. During this season, during the holidays, from now until the rest of our days, what would it take for me to be a super spreader of light? That's what I'm asking us to consider. There's a few things I suggest it might take. Number one is really listening to people. I mean, really listening to people. Last week when we talked about light as presence, I really resonate with that because I notice that as I'm with people, sometimes I can get caught up in not paying attention to what's being said, and I'm not present. And what I notice is that people, including myself, crave most is presence. We crave for people just to be with us. I, most of the time, don't need advice. Got a lot of my own advice going on in my head, and if I need advice, I'll usually ask for it. What we crave and what we need is for people to be really present to one another and to listen. So if you're a super spreader of light, I suggest there's a lot of listening going on. Active, loving, open-minded, open-hearted listening. If I'm a super spreader of light, I'm paying attention to what I say and what I do in every moment. I'm paying attention to my words. I'm paying attention to my thoughts. I'm paying attention to my actions. And I'm always asking myself, am I about to say something or do something that will lift up or tear down? Is it going to be constructive or destructive? And I'm not talking about a level of positivity that's just syrupy sweet, because I can certainly ask for what I want or suggest a different path in any situation from a place of love and respect. And that, to me, is being a super spreader of light. When I yell and demand and scream and get angry and frustrated, I often miss the opportunity to be the light and to spread the light in those situations. And so there's opportunities always in every interaction to be and to say and to speak and to be about actions of light. This time of the year, there are opportunities to participate in the lighting of candles, to remind ourselves of this through Hanukkah, through our candlelight service that we have, to help us anchor the light by keeping light around us and being aware of the light. I think that throughout the year, and especially this time of year, giving gifts is a wonderful way to spread light. But I don't think that those gifts always have to be physical things wrapped in pretty packages. Some of the greatest gifts I've ever been given have come from human beings who just shared their heart with me about how something that I said or did supported them, or how my presence mattered to them, or sent a note or a card. Those gifts light me up. Certainly, I experience great light as my inner child opens those presents. But keep in mind, even if it's not a year for you to give elaborate gifts to people or to give in the circle of people that you normally would give, consider sending a love note or making a phone call and just sharing heart to heart what someone's presence has meant to you this past year. That's a huge gift, and it's a wonderful way to spread the light. Contributing to those less fortunate than us, whether it's gifts or volunteering. That's part of why our giving tree is so beautiful and successful every year, because our Mile High community, we love to make sure that kids around the Denver area and the kids from the Lakota Way have coats. We want to be generous. And I know for me and for my husband Ken, when we give like that, it just lights us up to know we're making a difference. We've created a daily calendar that you can get on our website if you'd like, that has been for the month of December, but don't worry if you haven't gotten there yet. You can still take it out and use it throughout the year with acts of things that we can all do to help spread the light. So finding that calendar or a calendar like that. Mostly it can be just asking, how can I be light to the people that I love the most? And how can I be light to the people that I don't like or that I have resistance to? Both questions get to be asked when we're being the light. I'd like to close with a quote from Ernest Holmes, who I think said all of this perfectly. He said, "Let us therefore light the candle of love, human kindness, forgiveness, and understanding in our own soul, and let it shine brightly. Let us not peer into the darkness, troubled and concerned, because it is so foreboding and unknown. Rather, let us remain steadfast in the radiance of that spiritual light of truth within ourselves. Let us stand guard so that the winds of malice, cross purposes, ignorance, or misunderstanding will not blow out the light." And this last part he said so well, we've got it on a slide for us to see. Let us so live each day that the light from our candle of spiritual knowledge will forever be clear and understood, not only by ourselves, but by all with whom we come in contact. Be a super spreader. Let's spread the light. And today in our closing spiritual practice, I invite us to do that. We're going to do something a little different as our closing prayer, just like we did last week. I'm going to invite each one of us to just close our eyes right where we are. Unless you're driving or something, then don't close your eyes. But just take a moment to breathe in the very breath of life. And imagine for a moment at the core of our being, light. A light that shines brightly. A light that is like a star. A light that is awakening and warming, beautiful and brilliant. A light that is our soul's essence. And feel the expansiveness of this light, such that it begins to encompass every part of our physical being, that our entire body is now absolutely in the light that we are. Every organ and muscle and bone and tissue, that our mind and our heart are experiencing great light. Every breath we take expands that light, and it goes beyond our body now, and it begins to touch anything and anyone around us. begins to expand to the people we're with. If we're all alone, it expands to our animal companions. If we're all alone, it expands into the space that we're in, that the light that we are just grows and expands and grows and expands. And we see it, and we give thanks for that, and we allow it, and we say yes to this, because this simple action is one way that we can feel the connectedness to our own light and anchor in it and begin to give it out. And it expands beyond the dwelling we are in to other dwellings nearby, out into the streets, into cars driving by. People who don't even know we're doing this might be driving by, suddenly feeling a new lightheartedness within them because of the light that we are allowing ourselves to give knowingly. This light goes forth and begins to encompass the entire city that we are a part of, beyond the city to the borders of whatever state or principality we might be in, into our country, until we can feel that light that we are encompassing the whole world. And right now, though we can't be here together physically in this beautiful sanctuary, let's feel our connection. Let's feel the light. Because every one of us is connected right now. Those of us watching live and in this moment together, we are absolutely connected, feeling each other's light, living each other's light, sharing each other's light, benefiting from each other's light, and knowing that we are contributing to every other being. And even those who are watching in another time in the future from right now are benefiting from this moment of light. We are the light. Because we are the living presence of the divine. And we are connected right here, right now. And let us give thanks. To know this, to feel this, to sense this, to be this. Let us give glorious thanks that this is the truth. To breathe it in, to feel its energy. We are super spreaders of divine light this day. I know it, I claim it, and I give thanks for it. And I let it be and let it go. And so it is. Amen.
Thank you for listening to the Mile High Church podcast. This podcast is made possible by the generous contributions from listeners like you. If you'd like to make a donation, please visit us at milehighchurch.org. Have a fabulous day.